the first component of the meeting is the public forum. And ladies, welcome to Snowy Valleys Council.
Thank you.
You've obviously come to make a presentation regarding the library at Batlow. Am I correct?
That's right.
I know. Well, we'll hand over to you, Anne, in the first instance, and subsequently.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity of speaking today against the decision by Snowy Valleys Council to reduce the operating hours of the Batlow Library from 30 to 13. Batlow residents understand that the council is experiencing significant financial issues. We want to be a part of the solution, which is why over 200 letters and emails from Batlow residents were sent to the Snowy Valleys Council General Manager expressing support for our Batlow librarians' proposal to find the required annual operational cost savings measures. The proposal put to Council was this: all Snowy Valleys libraries reduce their opening hours and modify staffing levels to ensure that savings of $132,323 are met, equaling the loss of one librarian position from the existing 5 FTE in this financial year. So my presentation today focuses on the importance of social justice and equity as important drivers for ensuring the Batlow Library remains open Monday to Friday with reduced hours. Council has commissioned many important plans to guide the road ahead for our community right through to 2042. Libraries feature prominently in all of these plans. The solution put forward by our Batlow librarians would ensure that vital library services are continued, directly aligning with the Snowy Valleys Library Strategic Plan 2022 to 2026. The executive summary of this plan states that Council will continue to provide library and information services that both meet and anticipate the needs of the community over the next 4 years. The vision is to maintain a community-focused library service that is welcoming, accessible, inclusive, relevant, innovative, and creative. These values will be applied to our staff, programs, infrastructure, partnerships, and engagement with our communities. This plan sits within the Snowy Valleys Council Community Strategic Plan 2028 under the theme of Our Community, where it is stated that our communities are connected and inclusive, supported by services that nurture health, well-being, and identity. The library is well positioned to be the face of council and reflect its corporate values and strategic priorities. This plan was developed from sources including data from the council's Community Satisfaction Survey, which was conducted in 2021, that lists as one of the strengths and priorities for council being to maintain libraries, as they were ranked #1 under service facility performance results. Another significant report is the Snowy Valleys Council Community Strategic Plan 2042. 535 people within the community contributed their ideas to inform this report. This plan sets out an even longer-term vision for Snowy Valleys Council and is based on identifying the key priorities and strategies for achieving the plan. One priority includes the well-being of local people being supported, and the measure to achieve this is community accessibility and satisfaction with library services. In February-March this year, a total of 458 residents participated in the Towards 2042 Stage 1 engagement strategy. One of the questions asked respondents, what do you think would work well in your community based on what you've seen in another shire or area? 12% of respondents stated more activities and events, including longer library hours. Therefore, the community has been led to believe, through reading these reports, that libraries are an important feature of the council's short, medium and long-term planning. However, in reading the General Manager's letter to Batlow residents about the Batlow Library operating hours, one could be led to believe differently. And I quote, "Council has been left in a difficult position whereby it must reduce staffing expenditure and the levels of service it provides to the community over the next 3 years to ensure its immediate financial sustainability.
And
The first 12 months of cost..." Yes.
you have 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Right? You've exceeded that, but how much longer?
Oh, not too much on it. The first 12 months of cost-saving initiatives were reported and endorsed by Council at the 20th of June 24 meeting, and this included reducing the operating hours of the Batlow Library to 2 days a week, which is 13 hours per week. He further stated the decision was based on analysing existing library visitation and borrowing data, as well as comparing it to similar towns which have library services in other LGAs. I'll return to the library visitation and borrowing data shortly, but in the meantime, my question to Council is, if internal and external consulting money and hours have been spent putting these strategic plans together for a roadmap for the future, why are we now in this situation? Has Council's financial planning for the future not included long-term forecasting and associated risk assessments along the lines of, what if we don't achieve extra income through either a special rate variation or any other means, which according to the GM in his letter has triggered the cuts to hours? Closing Adelong Library and severely cutting Batlow's library hours means that Council is also abandoning their social justice principles of equity, access, participation and rights. I want to just turn to the socio-economic considerations.
Time.
That's 7 minutes.
The time is
Oh,
expired, well and truly.
well, I'm sorry, I had a lot more to actually.
But you can email it to us and we can read it.
Right,
Yep.
okay, great.
Beth, do you wish to make a
So
submission?
I've just got a very short and sweet thing here. So good afternoon to you all, and thank you, Anne, for that very relevant presentation. Look forward to seeing the rest of that. My name is Beth David and I speak on behalf of the Batlow Community and Cultural Association, BCCA. We wish to address some aspects of the operational cost-cutting measures to be enacted by this council, particularly in regards to libraries and briefly swimming pool access. Our association cannot accept that these measures are being shared equitably across the LGA and wish to put forward the reasons for this conclusion. We feel that the current proportions of funding available for libraries reflects the needs and demographics of each community. However, when the proposed funding and access hours cost-saving measures are applied, the proportions are not similar, as can be seen by the following. Just a couple of numbers coming up here. Tumut and Tumbarumba will both receive an increase in their share of access hours with the proposed judgment. Tumut currently has 37% of the share of the access of the budget, and that will become 51.6%. And Tumbarumba currently 26%, and that will become 31% share of the budget, the new budget. Conversely, Batlow, currently at 30.2% of the budget, will decrease to 16% of the new budget, and Adelong, currently 6%, will decrease to 0%. If these figures we can supply later if you want them for break up of it. BCCA is very disappointed that Adelong will not have a library at all, and Jingellic, Cancoban and Toomer will lose mobile library services in 2026. Surely a more equitable arrangement, despite the difference in population numbers, could be considered when taking into account the differing towns' circumstances and demographics. For example, Batlow is bereft of many services and facilities. As a result, our library has the highest visitation rate of any of the Snowy Valley Council libraries. There is only one bus for public transport to Tumut, a 50-minute trip each way, leaving at 10:15 in the morning and returning at 4 in the afternoon. not an option for many people. Our library is a rural transaction centre to access Centrelink, Medicare and other government organisations, which the council receives funds to support, we believe. Librarians have received specialised training and authorising powers in this area to assist. The library also carries out transactions on behalf of the council for payments, which is also available at the post office, but they are not able to resolve issues or answer inquiries. Batlow has many itinerant workers that rely on the library for authorising legal documents, and along with children, people with no internet access and or skills need the facilities and support. They also provide office equipment for general use. Unlike many other towns, we do not have any tourist information available. The library fills that role also. The library is the only place in Batlow where people can be out of the weather, find support, information and solutions to maintain well-being both physically and mentally. The bakery, pub, RSL and supermarket are not an option for many. The survey, belatedly sent to some residents seeking feedback on library options, is not community consultation and crafted with little relevant information. BCCA is also concerned with the pool access being curtailed. Conclusions drawn from the graph depicting the use of all Snowy Valley Council pools in the discussion paper over the past 3 years were based on little information. Batlow's so-called decline in use did not acknowledge the 2019-20 Duns Road bushfire fire event, and of which Batlow was the most affected. Loss of activities such as water aerobics or alterations not being completed, thus limited amenities, and after hours passes, pool passes not working for a third of the last season. The introduction of fees would also have been an impact. The pool and library are essential for Batlow. Just one more point. I will always wonder if our councillors were aware that when it was resolved to endorse point 1, endorse the cost savings initiatives identified in table 1, they were actually endorsing the terms of the action without further consideration. Thank you for listening to our concerns.
Thank you both very much for your presentation. Is there any questions?
There's just Anne.
Yeah.
So,
Councillor Thompson.
just to Anne, you acknowledged that I think you said there were 458 responses to the sessions that were held in relation to the community strategic planning. That was this year. So my understanding, and I'll stand corrected, I have a feeling that that is for the next community strategic plan, because as each council comes to an end, they need to start the engagement process with the community so that that community strategic plan is actually developed and adopted by the next council. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's the 2042 stage 1 engagement strategy.
Yep, so that's stage 1, which means that it's part of what we're going out to do now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
so
that's what I was.
I thought you meant that it was, yeah.
No, that the council is forward projecting into that plan.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, just in relation to trying to understand big picture as to how we actually manage the finances, and the difficulty arose when there was no SRV, or the SRV was not accepted, which meant that we had to review the budget in a really short turnaround frame. And I don't think that anybody here feels that that was in any way an ideal situation to have been in. And I think that everybody, irrespective of who's around the table after the 14th of September, has taken on board that in future there will be other ways. I just find it difficult to understand how once we've got to this point and the budget has been adopted. But I understand the issues surrounding the community, and I think that there are some things that maybe we could look at that would help reduce that impact, but knowing that we have more ahead.
Yeah, I think thank you for that. I mean, I think it goes, my speech goes deeper than that. It goes into looking at how libraries are funded, And as Beth has already inferred, Adelong and Batlow show up on the CEFA index as highly disadvantaged. And as a result of that, council receives extra funding for that, whereas unfortunately the Carbon Shire does not receive extra funding because they rate at 52% on the CEFA scale, whereas Snowy Valleys is at 80%. So therefore, that's not a fair comparison. And basically what is occurring is that we're suggesting we want cuts across the board for all libraries. However, it does appear that Adelong and Batlow, being the two most disadvantaged in the CEFA index, are actually suffering the most. So the most disadvantaged towns are the ones that are being heavily cut.
Are you aware that Taubingo lost everything?
I'm talking about the here and now. I'm talking about the ABS statistics as of yesterday. And with that economic disadvantage, following the bushfires, the close of businesses, the ongoing battle with internet connectivity, the battle with Transgrid, the ageing population, and council is still willing to take this vital resource away from Batlow and Adelong, when in fact those community resources are essential.
You're getting back into your submission.
They're essential.
Jess, was there a point?
Sorry, Trina.
I thought Jess just wanted to acknowledge.
James, Councillor Hayes.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I just on a point regarding the Tourist Information Centre, there is a notice of motion on the books that has been passed to rectify this, calling for expressions of interest from places in town to set up tourist information centres. It just hasn't been acted on.
Any other? Councillor Ham?
Yeah, Beth, when you talked about the itinerant workers and they're basically using the Wi-Fi, I presume, is that available outside the library?
No.
They can only use it within the library.
Facilities they can use. That's the crucial thing about the library. They can't go to a computer anywhere. There really is only a supermarket.
So if they're sitting outside the door on their phone or
they
whatever,
can use the phone, yeah.
They can get in that way.
Transfer, say, the print.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
not,
no,
you have to
no,
use
no, no.
phone, that sort of
Yeah,
thing. And they don't have the support either. I mean, a lot of these are from
that's right. They need
Pacific
someone to,
countries. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
It's fantastic.
Did you have a comment you wish to make?
Oh, it was just in relation, through you, General Manager, to funding of libraries. Council doesn't get any extra funding for low CEFA scores. We get about 106,000 in a grant, and expenses for our library is around $1.1 million. Just to clarify that.
Well, that data came from the State Library financial manager, who broke down the figures for me. And so I can show you where that is, because we did receive, or council does receive that funding. And last year, and 30% of it has to be put towards special projects.
Correct.
And so last year it was put together, this year it's been put towards Tumbarumba and Adelong for new furniture. And last year it was put into all libraries for new computers. So yeah, I've got the figures there for Carbon and for Snowy Valleys.
I think there's
Well
two different
researched.
branches. There isn't, that's grant monies, but also it's the ongoing payment to all councils to support libraries.
No,
I thought there's a certain amount per person according to population.
It's only a contribution towards the cost of the
I think
library.
it was something like $1.50, $2 for each person in the population. Apparently, and that's what I'd read on the library, not our library, but the.
You're right. There's a formula of which part of it is attached to the population, and that's
yeah,
So that's ongoing.
and said,
Grant.
part of it is for special projects. So there's sort of more your capital projects, not your operational funding, but it can be used to, replace the computers and that type of thing.
Yeah, which goes to show
The
how
library furniture.
bizarre for the Australian government.
Well, it's a New South Wales government, and it's only about 10% of the total cost that we spend on libraries.
Oh, of course, I understand that, but I'm just saying that this is
So-
recognising how important libraries are to all communities.
Yeah.
And we
I
should do a
don't
lobby.
think there's a doubt about the importance of
$2.85.
libraries.
Is it?
$3.85.
It is, that's correct, yeah, right. yeah.
So I think if you look at the statistics, over the last 20 years, the contribution by the state to local government to maintain libraries has significantly reduced.
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Mr Mayor?
well, yes, I
That's
think,
not right.
Well, it is right. As a percentage of library costs, it's reduced.
As per my discussion with Cameron Morley from State Library, in actual fact, overall contribution has increased.
In dollar terms,
In real terms.
no.
Well,
Anyway, look, we're not going to,
that's on the website.
to be quite honest, we're not having, councillor Harmer.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Could I summarise what I'm hearing here?
yes,
What we've done here, what our staff has done for us, is to work out all these figures, a lot on the data and the information available to them in a reasonably short period of time. But what you are saying in Batlow is, our library is not just a library. And in fact, we have Marumba, Batlow, Chermside, all serve different needs. Your library up there is more like a hub because there is nothing else. We have Centrelink, we have all the other places we can go to Chimney Times for the seasonal workers who will print their passports and so forth. And it's a continual job for seasonal workers to keep their passports and that information through the federal government. So it seems to me that what you really need is something open 5 days a week because you can't stick one day to it. So am I correct in assuming that 5 days a week opening is important to be able to facilitate all the services that you feel you need to provide and you are providing so well?
Well, I think it's very important to go back to the contract that Council has with Services Australia. And that does stipulate that, in fact, those services have to be available on weekdays. So that is critical and does go back to an accessibility requirement. So yes, I completely agree. Monday to Friday is the position that we have put forward. And as Beth has mentioned, there are many invisible populations, and school children after school use the library regularly because we don't have an out of school care. So the school closes at 3:30. We've got the itinerant worker population, which relies on that Services Australia portal. We've got a lot of programs being run through the library, for which older people attend during the day, whether it be the Tech Savvy program, whether it be family groups that meet there because we've got the homeschooling community, so they pick up their curriculum.
So essentially what you're saying is this is not a library function. These services that are being offered are not library function.
No, many libraries have converted themselves to becoming, and some very good examples
That needs to be
include
looked at.
Queanbeyan, which has converted itself to
And
offer.
this is not Queanbeyan.
No, I know, but it's offered itself to many other social support functions within a community. And that's through the programs that they offer.
We are running an organisation here that is losing $5 million a year and has done so each year for the last 8 years. That is a loss of $40 million. And this council put a proposal to IPART for an increase, an additional SRV, which was refused. And we are left with no other alternative but to make substantial reductions. And this reduction in this budget year is $1.125 million. Right, or $1.25 million, and that is 1/4 of what we have to find. Now, I don't doubt that we can shuffle the deck chairs on the Titanic. However, next year, if this council is to act responsibly, they will have to find a similar amount, and subsequently. We had a presentation the other day from a gentleman to say that it would take 8 years to put Snowy Valleys Council back on track. I don't believe that a council of any complexion will have the ability to keep its nose to the grindstone for 8 years. So all I'm saying to you is I personally, and I'm sure my colleagues here, understand exactly where you're coming from. We can shuffle the situation, but it's not going to avoid it coming again. So perhaps we need to spend a little time.
We're not expecting that, Anne.
No, and I understand that, but I'm just laying the cards on the table. What the lesson learned from my point of view is we need to engage in the process so that one, the community understands the dilemma we're in, and two, we try and work out a solution that's less than acceptable but understandable by the community to address the issue.
John Larders got
Yeah, that's exactly what
Councillor Larders got a
I,
question.
concur with, that's what I'm saying.
Councillor Larda?
Division of
Uh,
across all.
Yeah. Changing everything.
Councillor Larda?
Thanks, Mayor. I concur with what you just said, and I make the point. I think Councillor Hayes and myself both voted against the special rate variation in increasing the rates across the board because, unfortunately, local government is in such a predicament that they can't afford to do anything. Libraries are just one example of it. We can't pay for the services. We can not even afford to pay the staff. So until we have a model, a financial model that allows us to put in for a budget to the state government to run the services we need to run and put forward that plan to them as to what it will cost and what we need to deliver, none of this is, we're just going around in circles.
Very good, right. So look, we've taken on board what you've said. I would hope that we will engage with you in the process. Councillor Hughes has got a notice of motion up, which we will discuss during the course of the council meeting. And we'll go from there. But thank you very much for your presentation and the fact that you've taken your time to come down and keep us illuminated.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Fair and equitable is the main thing.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I think that.
I think we understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, attendants. Appreciate it.
It's probably going to stay and wait.
Probably.
A little bit much. We can bring that up if we need to.
What's the second item anyway?
Yeah.
Somebody going to sue them after that?
No, it's probably going to go. That's another day.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Righto, well, we'll now commence the council meeting. Acknowledgement of country. Councillor Thompson, would you be good enough to give the acknowledgement of country?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Having sat and listened with the two public forums, I think it's really a perfect opportunity for us to acknowledge that when we acknowledge country, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting. We acknowledge the elders past, present and those emerging. But we also understand the importance of being custodians. And with that, each one of us has an obligation to look to the past in order to move forward and create a stronger future. And I think we're incredibly blessed of where we live, whether we all agree or whether we don't agree, whether we feel that somebody's getting more. It's about us working together and understanding to achieve those outcomes going forward. And that's what an acknowledgement of country, and that is what traditional custodians, and we're incredibly blessed to have inherited and to be a part of 60,000 continuous years of continuous culture and to actually be able to contribute further to that. And so with that, I acknowledge the public forums today to be a part of that. And I'd also like the opportunity to acknowledge we have two present councillors in Councillors Livermore and Mayor Chaffey. And I think as custodians, they have undertaken an enormous job. And I think that they have contributed 150% to everything we've done. So with that, I acknowledge country, our traditional custodians and the elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Thompson. I'll now read the preamble. Pardon me. This meeting is live streamed on Council's website to allow the community to follow Council debates and decisions. Members of the public participating in the meeting agree to have their images, voice and personal information, including name and address, recorded and publicly broadcast. Snowy Valleys Council does not accept liability for any defamatory remarks or inappropriate comments that are made during the course of the meeting. Any part of the meeting that is held in closed session will not be streamed. Councillors are reminded of the oath of affirmation of office they made under section 233A of the Local Government Act of 1993 and the obligation under Council's Code of Conduct to disclose and appropriately manage conflicts of interest. Please ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or are in silent mode for the duration of the meeting, and no recording of voice or images is permitted. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate the building using the nearest exit and follow the instructions given by the wardens. Do not use the lift. If participating in the meeting from an alternative venue, please enact the evacuation plan for that location if required. We'll now go to apologies and leave of absence. I don't believe we have any. Someone move the remote attendance of Councillor Larter and Councillor Hayes. Councillor Ivell, seconded by Councillor Ham. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Declaration of pecuniary interests. Do we have any? If not, we'll go to confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting on 18th of July 2024. Is there a mover?
Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Livermore. Is there a second? Councillor Ivell. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Are there any issues that need to be resolved? If not, we'll go to correspondence and petitions. I don't believe there are any, are there, Mr.
No.
General Manager? Notice of motion of rescission. We have a notice of rescission. Caravan parks. Expressions of interest.
I'd like to move,
Councillor Thompson.
I'd like to move the rescission motion in the first instance. Point one, which is to rescind the resolution of 136.24 and points 6, 7 and 9 only. And then for the points 2, 3, 4 and 5 in point 3, there needs to be including the monthly rental payments to council to add for the period of the extended lease. So with that, I move the other four points.
Seconded. Councillor Armour. Debate.
I'll speak to the motion.
Councillor Thompson.
So just in relation to, this has come about through issues that have arisen in relation to the expressions of interest on the caravan parks that council chose to go out to the community to see, or go to the wider market to see if there were better options in order for the caravan parks to generate an income for us. As part of that, the resolutions from, I think it was the 20th of June, identified a series of points. Since that time, there have been other incidents which have occurred, which have meant that those points are no longer valid. And in order for us to actually be legal and above board in the next stage of the processes, it's required to have this rescission motion. So that's why it is put forward, and the new notices of motion for the council to adopt.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. Sorry.
Do we have a second?
Yes,
Councillor
Councillor Armour, seconded. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried.
Councillor Hayes has dropped out.
Larder's against.
Councillor Larder, you're against? Councillor Larder?
No, he's
No.
for.
No,
You're for.
saying, Councillor
Councillor
Hutton.
Good, righto. So how do we come to that conclusion?
Well, you said against it. Sorry.
Righto, okay. Righto, we have a, Councillor Hayes' camera, is Councillor Hayes' camera on?
He's dropped
We've
out
lost him.
too.
We've lost him, right, okay. We'll now go to notice of motion number 2.
Was
Yep.
speak
Councillor
to it.
Hughes,
You need to move it first.
I have to move it, and get a seconder.
Happy to second.
Thank you very much. One of these two.
yes,
One.
please
Said I
speak
want-
to it.
Speak to it, yeah. I believe this is a self-induced injury. Best working conditions for the council is to have as much trust and respect as possible with the communities they service. With the scenario set out in the motion by the cost-saving measures of the motion, M136/24, any council would receive noise from the community calling the council this and that, unsustainable, calling for ministerial intervention. This is not that subject. Everybody's getting well informed, especially after today, of the situation with the finances. This is a case in point of an organisation failing to use the policies that they have own things when it comes to engaging in the community. It is a short what needs to happen today is to reconciliate the lapse in the precedent of not using the CEP for what it's worth. Right back to the 200+ mobilised community members of the community showing which method you will take to adhere to the motion of cost savings that is the most efficient, effective and greatest value for money for the community. So there's a motion there. You want to read the motion or we got that?
Have we got the motion?
We have
Well, the motion is in the business paper is up there.
Yep.
I'd like
Is there a
Whether
So there is an amendment to that put forward.
Right, can we have the amendment? please?
Amendment would be 0.5, set the library services opening hours,
Don't do it as an amendment, just do it as
An addition,
an
an
addition.
addition.
right?
Set the library hours, opening hours for the 24-25 financial year to be reviewed on the OP of the 25-26 as follows. Tumut Library shuts on Saturdays, saving 4.5 hours of labour and on costs. Second part is Tumut.
No,
It's not the final, it's not the final.
Just a
It
minute.
may have been adjusted.
I think she's got it up there.
No, no.
That's the one. Yeah, let's go with that
I'd
one.
like to move that we vote
Do you
on
wanna
each
go?
point separately.
So
Do you want to go with that one?
Yeah,
Or the other
whatever
one?
that's.
Not saying-
Hello Library hours open at that 5 days. 5 days for 3 hours.
How
You
about
read
how about I ask
You
for
read your own
an
word.
amendment to that motion? And the thing that
Well, just a minute, just a
Yep,
moment.
sure.
Where are we?
Which is 0.5.
This is point
Point
five.
five.
Someone's proposing point five.
well,
Point,
it's not,
So
Are
we
you
have-
I
proposing?
propose it, yeah.
Councillor Armour,
As a seconder.
well, she's not the seconder.
I'm the,
Is it an amendment?
Second,
I'm happy to support the.
Yeah.
amendment.
I'll say that at the end.
righto.
So
We
what-
have point five,
Five.
please.
That Batlow Library opens for 5 days, 3 hours 5 days a week for 3 hours per day. That is 2 hours more than what was in train, but it gives a daily opening of 3 hours, which is probably the best end result to keep the hours limited, that we have the savings that we've tried to create. And I would ask in that recommendation that the 2 hours come out of Tumut. That's my amendment to that.
Well, just a minute. I think we need a little bit more definitive statement there. So
Yeah.
do we have something like
There.
that to that effect? Can you read it for me?
Yeah, she's got that.
he's already got it. We've already emailed it to him.
Right, okay. Right, so 5, Batlow Library opens 5 days a week, 3 hours a day, and that the extra hours allocated to Batlow come from the amended Tumut library hours.
Yeah.
And how the organisation organises that is entirely up to them.
Subject to the seconder agreeing with that.
Yeah,
Does the second agree with that?
I
Right,
do.
Is there any further debate on the issue? Councillor Ham.
I think that's great. It's 5 days a week. I just implore if there is any chance sometimes of an extra hour, because I know that there's a very good librarian there who runs story time. And she she's happy to do it anytime
week.
during the week, but she needs that one extra hour. So if that comes about, I think
Let's do that.
I'd like to see that happen.
3 hours a day.
And that's a great service for children.
I know, well, until such times as we get it up there on
And as the extra hours come.
the screen.
No.
Why is the has in front of
That,
that?
because it runs from the words that council has at the library open.
Are we happy with it? Well,
That's
uh,
that's,
From a
yes.
ministry perspective, we're happy that it reads okay.
Okay, my
Thinking
fellow
of the
councillors have any comment they wish to
Councillor
make?
Larder?
Councillor Larder?
Yeah, only that I won't support anything that takes something away from, if you want to increase the hours there, fair enough. I mean, we can't afford any of it, so it really doesn't make any difference. It's going to be the state government's problem at the end of the day, because we can't pay the bills. So I can't see the point in taking some away from Tumut to add into there. It's, if you want to do it, just do it.
Fair enough. No further debate? If not, I'll put the
So-
notice
so
of
can I-
motion.
Can I just be clear?
Sorry,
Because
Councillor Larder?
can I just be, what does the amendment say now? Because I can't see it. So are we voting to take something away from Tumut to add to Batlow? Is that what you're doing?
2 hours, opening hours at Batlow be 5 days a week, 3 hours a day, which is an additional 2 hours to what was previously allocated, and that those 2 hours be provided out of the Tumut library hours per week.
Which are already getting lost.
Righto, so that's it, councillor Larder. If there's no further debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Councillor Larder's against?
Councillor Larder's against.
Righto.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. The agenda. Where am I up to now?
8.3,
8.1.
10.1.
I'm just going to say 10.1. The amalgamation update.
You just want to wait until people.
Maybe just wait a minute.
Thank you all very much for your attendance. Appreciate it. Righto, we have 10.1. Is the door open? Yep.
No urgent business without notice. 9.
No, 9.
There's a recommendation there.
Move.
Moved by councillor Thompson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ivell. Any discussion? Do you wish to discuss it, Mr. General Manager?
No, not in particular.
Self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory, Mr. Mayor.
Very good.
Can
I'll
I,
put,
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
councillor Thompson.
Seconder for this one.
Sorry.
This,
it was
10.1.
10.1.
Thompson, who was the seconder?
Councillor Ivell.
Oh, sorry, I was.
Councillor Larder.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jen.
No, I would just like to acknowledge that in relation to the de-amalgamation update, I think one of the most critical things that we do need to acknowledge is that we've had a number of sessions now, and I know that in relation to the financial sustainability of Snowy Valleys Council, whether it remains as a merged entity or two demerged entities, the amount of work and the information that we have received, and it has outlined very clearly the real financial unsustainability at this point and what's going to be required. And so I think that financial sustainability plan is probably the most critical point in this report. And I can only hope that the next council can find funding in order to bring down the presenter, to bring everybody up to speed very early in their term so that they can understand going forward what's going to be required. Thank you.
Very good. I'll put the motion all, sorry, councillor Ham.
I just think people should be aware that certainly DIP, de-amalgamation implementation plan, is just part of everyday conversation here. And thank you very much to the staff who are taking this very earnestly and just doing such a lot of work in it. And I realise it's taking a lot of time. Thank you.
And through you,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Mayor, and maybe I should
Emma?
state it here again, as I did at the end of the session. It seemed a lot of money that we have to spend to try and de-amalgamate. But the information I believe that we received through this process
better make it.
without an amalgamation or otherwise, is something I would have looked for my first month as a councillor,
Mrs.
2
Bennett,
years
sir.
and 8.5 months ago, and I'm not counting, because it is so very, very worthwhile.
Thank you very much. I will just point out that we've been here 2 years and 9 months. I've always, in my period of time in local government, had the belief that it takes 3 years to achieve an objective. And I think we've probably achieved it in 3 months less than that. To get to a point where we can understand what the financial dilemma of this organisation is and have for us outlined a way forward to address the problem. As I said earlier, speaking to the presenters earlier, is that this, to keep our focus for 8 years to achieve a long-term objective, is going to be a fairly require a fairly rigorous adoption of the budget and adhesion to it, and I'm not sure that can happen. But anyway, we'll move on. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. 10.2. The review and approval of revotes has been moved by Councillor Thompson. Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder? Councillor Ham, thank you very much indeed. Any discussion?
I'd like to speak to the
Councillor
recommendations. I think what's really important to note here is that when people see the tables and they see the figures and the amount, to fully understand that everything that is identified in here already has budgetary dollars associated to it. That money has been included. The first table is just in relation to projects that have not yet been started. The second table is in relation to the projects that have a carryover component. So, you know, when you first look at it and you think that these are new projects and new funding dollars, or where are they getting that? It's just really clear to understand that these dollars have already been allocated towards these projects. It's now about bringing them into this financial year.
And what's anticipated that they would be spent in last financial year, and as they weren't, they have been revoted from money already.
If I could,
Councillor Ham?
would I be able to, through you, Mr Mayor, ask about the Manus Lake Vegetation Management Plan, which was 2022-23. What's happening? What's the delay that's going on there? And
Mr Director of Infrastructure?
Through you, Mayor, I'll have to take that one on notice. And I'll get back to you about the status of the Manus Lake.
Well, my understanding was that this work to some extent had already been commenced, but had suffered tragically at from the impact of stock that were allowed to stray into that area. Now,
but surely not 116,000.
well, I believe there was a substantial amount of money that was allocated for revegetation of that area. As our Director of Infrastructure has indicated, he's obviously not aware of the minutiae of the exercise. So we can only anticipate that you'll bring it back to us.
Yes.
Is that
Thank
a
you.
reasonable expectation?
That'd be great. Thank
Just, if I may, Mr Mayor,
Councillor Livermore?
just I believe what happened there, because I know myself, I questioned that amount some time ago when that came up, because I just couldn't understand what it was for. I believe the requirement to do that extent of revegetation was one of the licence conditions put on the
Agreement.
dam. So I think that's where it came from. How they're going to spend that much money to revegetate when there was no vegetation taken.
Yeah.
So it seemed a very strange thing, but I think it was just it was an opportunity by a government agency to require council to carry out a lot of that work as part of the licence condition.
And I would have thought the position of where it is that we have the Manus Correctional Centre help with the management plan, but if that could be just researched and into the report.
Well,
Well,
it
that'd be
might be
great.
pertinent to bring back a full expose of what's involved in the process, how the money's intended to be spent and when you intend to do it.
we'll do that, but the mayor is correct in that we had that issue with
Yeah,
destroyed all the, which I think we put in a councillor newsletter.
Yeah.
That explained that situation at the time. So I'll bring full response back to councillors about why that money is being carried over and where we are with the revegetation work.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr Mayor,
Did I put, sorry, councillor
could
Hughes?
I ask, through you, Mr Mayor, the General Infrastructure Director? The two questions, everybody watching on the water security project, could you explain a bit more about that for us? Mr Duncan Mitchell's.
Yes, so the first question, I believe, councillor Hughes, was the status of the Batlow Institute facade repair.
Oh, that one too, yeah.
Yeah, so I will bring more information. I've asked for that information to be supplied. I haven't received it. And also the Batlow Memorial Playground renewal. I've asked for that information. I haven't received it. And I'll bring that as soon as the council staff get back to me on the status of those projects and why the carryovers are there. $5,000 carryover for the facade repair at Batlow and $27,000 for the playground renewal.
The water security.
Sorry?
The water security project.
At 3.
And the water security project. I'll come back to you with the status of those three items.
Thank you.
I don't
I
believe that.
have sent emails out to staff as discussed in the pre-agenda, but I haven't heard back.
Nice.
I don't believe that involves the desilting of the Batlow there.
Doesn't sound, yeah,
No.
that's not enough money to do it anyway.
Very good. If no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We'll now go to 10.3, attendance at the Australian National Local Government Assembly at Canberra and the National Capital.
I'll move that way.
Move, councillor Thompson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hughes. Any discussions? If not, I'll put the motion.
I would like to speak to it. What a
Councillor
surprise.
Thompson. Well, I'm on a-
It's the last council meeting. We have to,
That's right.
can I just say that, you know, the mayor and I, and it was a fairly extensive, it was 4 full days. It included the national regional forums. So that's where from across the entire of Australia, from Tasmania over to Western Australia, right up to the
Every
Gold
local
Department
government
area,
body in New South
across
Wales, in
New-
Australia.
but the regional ones. And so being a part of the forum gave everybody the opportunity to hear of the issues that are impacting on local government across Australia in our regional and smaller rural areas. And it was a different forum or format this year in that the regional forum was held in the morning, and later in that afternoon they had 4 breakout sessions, of which the mayor and I chose 2 separate ones. I went with the disaster recovery and I think the mayor went to the
I went to the energy.
energy
Transition.
one, 2 very, very significant issues for us. But then as the week progressed and you start hearing speakers from across Australia, there were 1,200 delegates at the National Convention Centre. We had submitted 5 motions. All of those were successful in being approved to be taken up by the executive to be taken on further to raise, and those are in, so I'm not going through those. But the beauty of these conferences, despite the fact that prior to us going, it was noted that it was a waste of money and that could be better spent elsewhere. When you have a mix of political presentations, we had the first public address by our new Governor-General. We had the opportunity to listen to presenters such as Annabelle Crabb, who many people watch. We had the incredible privilege of listening to Samuel Johnson, who has set up the Lovely Sister, and the way he spoke and since his acquired brain injury and what he continues to do. And touch with that, we also had the presentation by people such as Chris Bowen that, you know, we can't get through the door to talk to him, but when you stand at a microphone in front of 1,200 delegates, he's got to respond. And the minute you say Snowy Valleys Council and Snowy 2.0, you can see him swallow and think, here we go. So it is so incredibly important. The report is there. I'm happy to discuss with anyone, but I'm sure that even the mayor may want to make a comment on what it was. It is valuable, it is important, It's about networking with people from across Australia. This is not about going to just the next door neighbour's house and having a chat. This is about understanding local government at a national level. And even if you pick up one little thing or you meet somebody that you connect with that you can continue to engage with, these are invaluable. And I would encourage the next council not to see them as a waste of money, or indeed any of the conferences that we have the opportunity to attend. This is how we learn, this is how we engage, and this is how we understand that we don't have all the answers, but sometimes we might learn something from someone else.
And we'd have two of our councillors away today at a particular conference. And look, the benefits that flow from these are not sometimes immediately realisable, but they stand you in good stead in the future, and you get a broad understanding of the issues that are confronting local government generally across Australia. And I can tell you, we're not unique. I think there is a major problem confronting Australia in the not too distant future regarding local government and the way it delivers services into its constituent areas. So, yeah, look, I certainly hope that council continues to attend these opportunities to update itself on what is beneficial to the long-term community. So, very good. I'll put the motion. Councillor Lytle, sorry, my apologies.
That's all right. I was just letting you finish. You're doing a great job there. I just wanted to add to what Deputy Mayor Thompson said. That's a great report. Lots of information, and that's fantastic. I've only got a couple of comments to make. If you don't participate, you won't be part of the solution.
That's right.
It's as simple as that.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Thanos Snow Valleys Council.
Mr. Bowen.
Sorry.
Very good. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 10.4 is pecuniary interest. There's a recommendation there. Is there a mover? Councillor Ham. Councillor Livermore. Any debate? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried.
Hold it.
Well, yeah, what are you going to do about it? 10.5.
In a hurry to get out or something?
He's on the.
I know.
On the one,
You're not off the clock yet. You've got a month to go.
I've got a month to go.
You've got a month to go.
10.5, water and wastewater charging policy. I think this may is an important policy for us to consider. It can have a significant impact on those people who suffer some sort of issues regarding their water supply. So is there any mover? Is there a mover? Councillor Ham, is there a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Harmer, no, I won't. I'll open it for debate. Any discussion? Councillor Ham?
I just was reading the policy and just going over the last 8 years. This often comes up with someone going away on holidays. They haven't turned their water on. It's the middle of winter. Their pipes freeze. Water goes everywhere, and they could be away for up to 6 weeks. Or there's a leak under the concrete. Just to be exactly clear, what happens to those people now, if I could ask the Director of Infrastructure and Works, through you, Mr. Mayor?
So can you tell me, Mr. Director of Infrastructure, exactly the process that I, as a resident and connected to the water supply, have gone away for 6 weeks, according to Councillor Ham. My water pipe has frozen and burst, and during the 5.5 weeks that happened, the water is discharged into the house, or alternatively a leak under the lawn or the garage or something like that. How is that addressed by the council?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Ham, yes, in the policy, if you go to section 4.10, which is undetected leak or exceptional water loss, there are provisions within that clause for, in those sorts of situations, respite for someone who's suffered exceptional water loss or an exceptional leak. So there are provisions in there, and I can go through them in detail if you like.
No, just as long as there are provisions.
But there,
And who decides?
at the end of the day, it will be council, but there is a formula there that if the how an exceptional water leak is determined, what is an exceptional water leak. So that's also in the provisions, how that's determined. And then council staff will go through and effectively, as long as you follow the provisions of the policy and having the water leak fixed, then you'll be entitled to a rebate.
Thank you.
I think by way of full disclosure, it might be appropriate if we, I assume we send out separate water notices, is that correct?
Mhm.
It might be appropriate to include some notification or warning of the potential for burst water pipes and the impact it can have.
Yep.
So can I just seek a
Councillor
clarification,
Thompson?
please? Because the document went out for the 28 days exhibition, there were 2 submissions that came back, and that was all that was received in that time. I suppose the one area, it does, the final determination is made by a resolution of council, which means that if there's absolutely exceptional circumstances, it can be looked at in that way.
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you.
Last port of call. Very good. We had a mover and a seconder. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We'll go to 10.6, the statement of investments. Is there a mover?
Yeah, well,
Moved by councillor Hughes, seconded by councillor Livermore. Any questions regarding the investments, the level of investments? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We'll now go to 11, management reports. Minutes of committee meetings of the Adelong Showground Committee. Is there a mover?
Jane.
Second, moved by Hayes, seconded by councillor Ham. Any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Only to congratulate the Showground Committee on their excellent work today.
I didn't hear that, councillor Hayes.
Congratulate them for the rest of
To
the
congratulate the committee on their excellent work.
Oh, very good. Thank you very much indeed. Right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. 12.2, Batlow Cider Rail Trail Steering Committee. Is there a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Hughes, seconder. Councillor Ham. Any discussion?
We had a good look over the I guess the washout of the grant and from the staff, from Glenn. It was very informative, and we have a pretty good idea where we're going to go now. And it's good to have a good collaboration between the community members and the staff on this issue, and look forward to seeing more of it on this subject.
And hopefully getting a grant.
Hopefully getting a grant.
in the future.
Could I just ask if the
Councillor
feedback,
Ham?
was the feedback was that we were asking for too much money? Because we were asking for a lot of money.
It was the money, but it was also the design of it was also a question as well. I wish Glenn was here. He could.
Is this how the design, was that Halliburton?
No, it was off our own. It was off the Traxwell design. Trackwell.
It was pretty extravagant, wasn't it?
It was, and it was a lot of things that didn't have to be in there.
Yeah.
The feedback from the grant board was very detailed, and it gave us a great opportunity to look at it and go for it the next time it comes up. I'm pretty optimistic about it.
Very good.
So through you, Mr Mayor, can I just ask
Councillor Thompson?
Councillor Hughes, so at what point of the project are we at now? What, if people say how's the cider trail going?
Progressing.
Yeah, so are we a step further to actually getting funding and actually starting some work, or is it still in that stage where we're in a bit of a hiatus until we can get some funding to commence the works on it? So have we started doing any work on it?
I haven't got any money.
No.
Okay.
Well, just a minute. So when's the next round of grant applications?
There's probably other grants around, and Glenn's, I guess, would be a better person to talk to, but this grant apparently comes up annually, and we'll be putting in a better submission in next.
Can I ask how the committee intends to prepare a new grant application taking on board everything that you were told by the previous, as a result of the previous grant application?
So we will move the track head behind the caravan park, most likely. Tar it, most likely. These are the things that we're going to put into the costings. Do away with toilet block. Parking is already accomplished.
Well, if you utilise the caravan park as the,
Yeah.
you can make significant
Yeah.
modifications to the plan.
So, we've got the track well model, which is where we started from, and then there's a certain amount of community consultation and realisms have to be applied in there, and the grant did show up all those things at the same time. It's a bit of a litmus test, really, so it's,
We'll just make sure you do
Good.
consult the community. We've already.
yes, we've had a,
Righto, okay,
So just on that, Mr. Mayor, yes, the ability,
Mr. General.
the benefit
Manager.
of the active transport grant that went for is it can be 100% funded, whereas a lot of the other grant programs require a matching
Largely, yeah.
contribution, which we haven't got. So,
Right.
yeah, look, unless we can get it 100% funded, then it's
It's
you know, it's
probably a
unlikely,
figment of someone's imagination.
unlikely to go forward.
Well, look, in that case, I do think that the steering committee needs to focus on putting a proposal that's lean and hungry
Mm.
and has a chance of success.
Yeah.
Because there's no point tilting for pie in the sky. It's not going to happen.
and we're all over that, I think.
And we all want it to happen.
Very good. Righto. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. 12.3. Glenroy Heritage Reserve Committee. The mover, councillor Ham, seconded by councillor Idle. Any discussion?
Yeah,
Councillor
I'm
Hand.
the representative on this committee. I just want to acknowledge Mr. Neil Christie. He's been the president for as long as I've been on there and a lot longer than that. He decided at the age of 90 that it was time to stand down as being president and to vice president. And it's I'm delighted to see that former councillor Bruce Wright has stepped up as president. But they do an excellent job out there at Glenroy Heritage Reserve, and really Neil and Anne Thorogood with the committee, they just drive it. They need to be
Do you wish
congratulated.
to move that we make some formal recognition of their contribution?
That would be fantastic. Yes, please.
Righto. Do you wish to add that to the, far be it from me to put words in your mouth.
If I could put to point 3,
Point 3,
if we could have a letter of
appreciation.
appreciation and recognition for Neil Christie for his work as president of the Glenroy Heritage Reserve.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Just
I'll-
wait
Just hang on a sec.
Sorry?
I said, would you mind hanging on a sec?
Well, I
You just
thought
have
you'd
to
have
let
that.
the typist go.
Just hold on to the desk.
no, hold on. Okay.
I think it's just to Mr. Christie, isn't it? Or it's not the committee as well, is it? Or
No, Mr. Christie.
Right, a letter of appreciation
To Mr. Neil Christie.
to Mr. Neil Christie for his efforts in his role as president.
He
Okay.
certainly has been dedicated to the project.
Yeah.
Well, there could be motivation applied there, but
Why don't we say for his outstanding service to the committee?
but anyway, no, he's done a
That
marvellous
can be
job. He's
worded in
really
the-
been a font of strength to that organisation. Very good. We happy with the wording? If so, I'll think someone to move the motion, or it's been moved with that addition. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. I think that's
Mr. Mayor,
confidential.
I'll move that we go into confidential.
It's been moved by councillor
Um,
Thompson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Livermore, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried.